Howdy, y'all. Thank you for joining us today. This is our second webinar in our new series of our Practice Spotlight, Success in Helping People Hear. I'm your host, Clark Buxton. I'm a sales and account manager with Sycle. Been here about 6 months now, still getting my feet wet with Sycle, but have been in the industry about 10 years, helping practices, different things. And really, I'm one of those folks that learned what we do in this industry. It hit my own family, and I'm not ever leaving. I get the goosebumps every time we're able to help somebody, and I'm proud to be able to be here today with Ronnie Boling with Brentwood Hearing Center to hopefully share some value on how he, as the owner and business manager, has increased the success of their own single clinic. How you doing today, Ronnie?
Good morning. Doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to visit with you today and with friends across the country.
Yeah, and really very thankful that you're here. You guys have proven that you've been successful. I know that you guys have grown your practice tremendously over the years, and I look forward to diving in. First and foremost, the world wants to know, who are you and how did you get started? Where did you begin, and what do you guys got going on?
Great. Well, thanks again for the opportunity to visit today. I'm a veteran of financial services industry. I was a banker here in Middle Tennessee. Began my career actually in East Tennessee, which is home. Tennessee Vols, we're a baseball school now, in case anybody didn't know. But anyway, began my career in financial services industry in East Tennessee upon graduation from the University of Tennessee, and then moved to Nashville, where I was a banker for 30 plus years. Retired from banking and got into the hearing care industry because my wife was at that point a part-time audiologist here at Brentwood Hearing Center. She shared a job with another who is our business partner now, Dr. Tanya Williams. They shared a job for a couple of days a week, and I retired from banking, and we had the opportunity in 2011 to purchase this practice from its founder and owner and their mentor, Dr. Ann Sitton. And so we have owned the practice for now a little over 11 years, was 10 years, a little over 10 years. It was 10 years in October. And so my role is to be the practice manager. And I often say that I'm the guy in the back that counts the widgets. So our practice is a bit of an anomaly in that we have someone, not that it's necessarily me, but that we have someone who pays attention to every invoice and every expense, every line item of our balance sheet and our income statement. And whether it's purchasing the paper towels, which I think is probably my greatest contribution to the office, to contacting a management company when there's a water leak in the ceiling or when there's a mouse in a trap. Our audiologists, and we have 5 doctors of audiology, they're able to focus totally on patient care. And so I take care of all things administrative.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that paper towels is not going to be the thing that we find of value today with where do you get the best pricing? And this is why we invited you to speak with us today and to share. It's because of that exact perspective that you offer with owning and working with a clinic, in the sense that you're not a provider yourself. You are looking at the business from the scope of not day-to-day care per se. You are looking at all the business aspects, and I look forward to diving into what that looks like with you. So 11 years. Have you guys ever thought about moving the location, or is that like you guys are dead set there? Is it one location? Did you ever move or do anything like that?
Great questions, Clark. We are at the same location that our founder and owner moved to 37 years ago.
Okay.
It's a great location. Of course, the building is going to be a bit dated, and we're challenged a little bit with that. But patient care is easy here. One of the things that has been a tremendous asset for us, quite honestly, is our location. And that is we are conveniently located about 8-10 miles south of downtown Nashville, right along the I-65 corridor, which heads from Nashville down to Huntsville, Alabama, Franklin, Tennessee, Huntsville, Alabama, and then on to Birmingham and on down to the coast. So one of the things I often say was one of the best decisions I ever made was not long after we bought the practice, I noticed that on the back of the building facing the interstate, and from where I sit right now, if I had a window that opened, I could actually throw a rock and hit the exit ramp. It is just right there. But one of the things I noticed was that there was no building signage for our practice on the back of the building. And so I talked to the management company about that, talked to the building owner, and they said, you know, we can't put up the sign for you, but we can give you a couple months free rent and you can buy the sign. So I don't own the building, but I own the sign that is a very light LED sign on the back of the building. And it's unbelievable how much exposure we get from that. It's not unusual for a patient to call and say, you know, one of our first questions when we talk to a new patient is, how'd you know about us? And it's not unusual at all for them to say, either I visited your website or I drive by your office every day going back and forth from work. And so I thought it was probably time to stop in. So long answer,
Right.
Short question. The location has worked very well for us. It's easily accessible for all our patients. And then the visibility is great from the I-65 corridor.
Cool. I mean, that's just one of those things that people don't always necessarily realize. Like, it's such an easy opportunity to showcase yourself in a very inexpensive, relatively inexpensive. I know those signs aren't cheap, but you know, you pay for it once and you're going to get the value for years and years and years to come, right? And it's right there. So diving kind of, you know, back into the business, you mentioned 5 audiologists. And I also would like to make mention to everybody out there that, you know, while we provide Ronnie here with some questions, a lot of this is unscripted. So we get a raw sense of exactly, you know, the responses and the things that they do and what he finds important to their business right through this interview process. So you guys have 5 employees. Have you had turnover, or you guys have long-term employees? Do you find them any particular way?
Great question. We actually have 8 total employees, but
Okay.
5 of those are doctors of audiology. All of our audiologists have their doctorate. The most recent one happened to be my wife. Yes, I endured the online 2-year process of her getting her doctorate. And I often said, you know, I don't think I'm going to have AUD after my name when this is finished. So I think I'm going to go to the park and take the dog for a walk. But anyway, we have 5 doctors of audiology, me in the back room, and then we have an insurance specialist and a receptionist. When we bought the practice, we made the decision to retain our receptionist, who was quite good. She retired, I guess, 4 years ago. But then our insurance specialist, who has been here 39 years, is still with us, and she handles those things. I guess from a staffing standpoint, our greatest challenge has been the receptionist desk, which is kind of the front door, the picture window, if you would, from our growing up days in our house, is to the practice. And so that's been a challenge. And Stephanie is our front desk person. She's been with us now for about 1.5 years. And she actually responded to an ad that I put on Indeed.com. And we got several resumes. She was the first person I talked to, and I didn't need to talk to anyone else. Had great experience and does a great job with our patients. She's actually been out with some knee surgery, and so we're missing her tremendously even today.
Yes, I know. As we were going through some of the technology pieces with this, it's hard when your employees are out when you run a small business and have the single practice on who's going to cover for sure. Um,
Definitely.
have have all of your audiologists been with you for a pretty significant length of time as well? So you have five. So your wife and your business partner are two of them.
There are two lead audiologists. Then we
Okay.
have two ladies who actually are middle part of their careers, I guess, that they have young children. And so they actually share a job very similar to what Ann and Tanya, our lead audiologists, did several years ago. One works Monday, Wednesday, the other Tuesday, Thursday. And then we have another full time audiologist, Rachel, who about 3 years ago, I got an email from this lady named Rachel who I'd never met before, looking for a job. And so I looked at her resume. She was finishing her fourth year at the Veterans Administration hospital here in Middle Tennessee. And I had happened to have one of our audiologists who worked part time that was going on maternity leave for the summer. And so my response to Rachel was, I've got a summer job, but that's all I have. And she says, I'll take it. Well, that summer job has lasted 3 years, and Rachel is full time with us now. And we're very excited and glad she's on our staff.
Well, that's an amazing story. And valuable for all the students out there or folks looking for jobs. Sometimes it's worth just reaching out to those in the
Mm-hmm.
industry that have shown success to see if you might be able to join that team.
It's a
Um,
classic case of not really having an opening, but Rachel taking the initiative and kind of creating a position for herself.
yeah,
But it's gone very well, and
that's
we
awesome.
we weren't necessarily thinking about expanding at that time, but it's worked out very well.
Okay. So when you guys bought the business, one of the things that everybody would ask is how many patients kind of were there? Exact numbers aren't necessary, but was it kind of a small business, medium business? And
I would characterize it as a small business, and over the
okay,
past years, um, our our incremental revenue has the growth has been phenomenal. It was a small business that consisted of the owner, audiologist, and then two part timers, which were Ann and Tanya at that time.
okay,
So you can imagine there was a paper appointment book, and I'll always remember one of the first days I got here, and our receptionist said, "I hope you don't expect me to use a computer." I said, "Well, we may at some point in time," but then when it got to be that she understood how easy it was for audiologists to schedule patients using Sycle, before they left the audiologist's office, she quickly realized that was better than the audiologist coming out and thumbing through her paper book trying to get a patient scheduled. Uh,
yeah,
uh, but it was a small business, very dependent on the one person. And this practice was started really from Ms. Sitton's relationships with physicians, primarily at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And
got it.
so the patient base was very dependent on physician referrals, and we still have a huge focus on physician referrals, but we've also expanded our reach and to do a lot of different types of marketing. I think Ms. Sitton's marketing approach was mainly a small ad in the yellow pages and contacting her doctor friends from her days as a student at Vanderbilt University.
Got it. And that leads me right into the next question. So if it was a small business and you guys now are in one sense just killing it out there, you know, what did you do? So how do you market? How do you find new patients? What's something that you would tell these, other small businesses out in other places to think about or to do?
Well, that's a great question. And I'd say I probably spend about 40 to 50% of my time on that very thing, which is marketing of the business. And our marketing, I think, Clark, I would categorize into pretty much two or three different buckets. One is our existing patients, two are prospects, and then three is that physician referral network. As all of us know, whether we're in financial services industry like I came from, or whether it's an audiology practice, the best source of new business is your existing customer base. And so we try to do a really good job of staying in touch with our existing patients. How do we do that? Well, I do at least a quarterly, through Sycle Marketing, by the way, I do a quarterly print newsletter. Our patient average age is about 69.1 years of age. And so they like paper. And so we send a print newsletter at least twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, to our existing patients. And I will guarantee you that I can tell you the day it hits homes because the phone starts ringing. And patients really like the pertinent information that's in there. There's usually a recipe. There's always a personal greeting. There may be a cartoon, but that gets a lot of traction for us.
So
we also, go ahead.
So that thing that you send out, it's not just about an advertisement. It's not just about hearing loss. It's has kind of a mix of different things that accompany it. It's really just a personal touch of, hey, here's some other valuable things, some things I want to share with you to just create that bond between the business and the person.
That's correct. It's a mix of personal greeting versus articles that we may find in from the Sycle Marketing article list. Stacy Cochran is my contact at Sycle Marketing. In fact, just this morning, Stacy and I put the final touches on our spring summer newsletter that will be mailed within the next couple of weeks.
Very cool. That's something, even in the years I've been doing this, that's something that's a little bit unique and a little different. Very neat. So what about the other buckets?
Well, the existing patient bucket, the website. I would say existing patients, we want to make sure our website, I'd say the number one driver of new patients in our practice, if we could talk about that bucket for a minute, which we have done some direct mail. Our experience with direct mail is that it attracts a different kind of patient, maybe a patient that is a little more price sensitive, a patient that is not as loyal. Anytime we've done a direct mail campaign, we've typically had a few more returns because of the 2 reasons I mentioned a minute ago. But maybe the most important driver is our website. I would say if I'm looking at my referral list today of new patients, that at least 30 to 40% of them Googled Hearing Aids Nashville or Hearing Care Nashville, and that's how they found us, was on the website. So the website is all important to make sure that it's kept up to date, that it has pertinent information. And that's one of those things, Clark, that it's so easy for me, even in my role, which I'm responsible for marketing here, it's easy for me to get caught up so much in working in the business versus working on the business. And by working on the business, I mean looking at the website, making sure that the information on there is pertinent, making sure that photos are up to date. So website's a huge driver, both to our existing customers and our physicians. We also send a monthly e-newsletter, which we use a vendor that helps us do that, which is more of an educational focus for our patients. There's always a greeting, typically from me, that's pertinent to what's going on. But over the course of the year, those e-newsletters, which are sent to existing patients and prospects, if there's a prospect in our system that hasn't purchased before. So that's important. And then we have a print educational piece that goes to the referring physician. So I've kind of rambled a little bit, but those 3 buckets, existing patients, prospects, physicians, all goes into the mix, realizing that a pertinent website is very important too.
Yeah, I mean, like the concept that you just said, taking, and you get to do it because you are the business manager. You get to work, on the business rather than in the business. And for all of our folks out there that are single practice owners, or of a smaller business, that they kind of have to do all of it. That's something to really make sure that you schedule time every month, every week, where you don't get caught up in just working in the business. You've always got to continue to work on the business, to grow, to change, and to do some things. And so thank you for sharing that, because it's something that I don't always think of, and I know others don't always remember to join into. We have a question that came up about your newsletters.
Okay.
And if you're good to answer this, but
Sure.
And I wouldn't see why not, but do you have a specific call to action, or have you tried different ones in those newsletters that make the phone ring more than anything else? Or what's your number one?
We typically don't have a call to action. We do from time to time, usually twice a year, advertise the special event, if you would, that we typically say is 3 days, but it's really not 3 days. It's the whole month of December, or this year it's going to be the whole month of June. We don't have a call to action on those, but we do feature, whether it's a waterproof hearing aid by Phonak, or whether it's hands-free talking on your telephone, whether it's the Oticon Connect line, or whether it's some special feature related to technology, that typically is a driver to where people want to inquire more about it. So there is not a call to action in our newsletter. There's not a discount. There's not a special promotion. We reserve those to special mailings that we may send both to existing patients and prospects, trying to get existing patients to make sure their technology is upgraded. Our experience has been that people trade hearing aids about like they trade cars when the warranty expires or close thereto. But when I'm sending a mailing to my existing patients, it's usually patients whose hearing aids are 2 years plus old, because it's been amazing how many people have decided that, yeah, my hearing aids are not quite out of warranty yet, but I want to go ahead and look at the new technology.
Okay, so
Another thing I want to mention about marketing, if you can't tell that it's a real passion of mine, is we made the decision to expand on the physician network that was established by our former owner. And every time a patient comes in, we make sure that we document on their intake form who their primary care physician is, because we want to send them a report, but also we want that in our database, and that's what drives sending that information to those physicians, which is typically either the fax report or the direct mail piece. So we build that database all the time. On marketing too, I don't know if many of our viewers today, or Clark, if you've ever been to a shooting range, we have several around town here, but I would draw an analogy when I look at our marketing, while it's in those different buckets. If you go to a shooting range and you shoot a shotgun, the pellets splatter everywhere. On the other hand, if you're using a rifle, there's one bullet that goes to a certain place, whether it's a target or where you want it to go. And so we have both of those kinds of marketing here, the kind of marketing that just splatters out all over Nashville. And while we're Brentwood Hearing Center, we're actually in Davidson County, and our address is Nashville. So we're just south of Nashville in the Brentwood community. But our marketing is both. We're on radio. We're sports talk radio has been a huge driver for us. Why is that a big driver? Our average age patient is 69 years old, but our target is that 50 to 55-year-old, realizing that if statistics are correct and people wait sometimes 5 to 7 years before they do anything about their hearing from when they first noticed it, we want to make sure we're in the game and top of mind, whether it's from our radio ad or television ad, direct mail and other things. And then that rifle, that specific focused marketing is to our existing customers, is to the direct mail that we'll we send to certain zip codes by certain income levels and demographics. And it's amazing what you can learn about your market when you go through one of these direct mail programs. So I wanted to also say that too, that we're not necessarily all over the board, but we try to really approach our marketing in a lot of different ways. But maybe the most important thing I would say about marketing is know where you're spending your dollars and know what return you're getting. And also, if it's radio or television, it's all about repetition. You can't have a television ad for 3 months and really expect it to do much good. Think about the ads from television that each of us remember, whether it's looky, 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 here comes Cookie. You hate the jingle, but you remember it. And so repetition in those areas of marketing is very important. So maybe I ventured off way into too much about marketing, but
No.
it's what drives our practice. Totally.
Yeah, and it's a perspective that's needed, right, and understood. And the point that you made about you're gonna look at all the different buckets, not just like where you find your patients, but you're also going to look at different buckets and who you're going to for new prospects, from radio to TV to direct mail. And I thought it was really interesting when you mentioned on that direct mail piece, your experience that you find them less loyal. What an interesting, thing to think about. It's further than just, did they purchase once? It's, did they purchase once and did they stay with us, or were they swooned by another direct mail piece or something like that? Is that their purchase history? And where are you finding the customers that are loyal? It's definitely something that I think a lot of practices take for granted in their marketing schemes. People just think about, what do I do to get people in the seat? And then that's it. Surprisingly and understandingly here, because of all this insight into marketing and some of these ideas, we're only a couple of minutes away from the half hour. We did have a couple of questions in the Q&A. So, and one was kind of leading into another topic we were going to talk about. It's just your pricing. So how do you establish your pricing on hearing aids and services and things like that? How did you define where you fall on that pricing, just from your perspective as a business manager?
Well, one of the things I've realized over my banking career and in the past 10 years managing this practice and owning it is that one thing you can count on is change. At this point, and I will be very clear to say, at this point, our pricing model is still bundled. Why is it? We talk to patients about what's included in the bundled price they pay for hearing devices. And we say, we can have more of an unbundled approach for you, but this is how many times you will typically come in for reprogramming and different services. And we want you to come back in. And the patient has said, if I have to come back in every time I'd rather pay it all up front. If I have to come back in every time, I probably won't come in. So one of the reasons why we've held on to that is that our patients say they prefer it. But also, we strongly feel like that follow-up care is maybe even more important than the initial fitting. And so we want to do everything we can to encourage patients, because it's their hearing, it's their lifestyle. I've often said, we're not in the hearing care business, we're in the lifestyle business, because it makes a huge difference. And if someone's hearing aids are not programmed appropriately because it's going to cost them every time they come in for reprogramming, they will likely not come in. So we want to do everything. We want to listen to our patients, and they say, no, I prefer the model the way exactly the way you have it. And we want to encourage them to make sure that they come in regularly. So our short answer is our model at this point is bundled.
Okay. Another question here, and this is a great one as well. So you spoke about in your marketing that you expanded on the physician relationships. How did you do that? So obviously you mentioned that you you make sure to record all the physicians of the current patients or prospects that walk through your door. So that's one piece. But how did you make the impression with these physicians to ensure that you actually have a relationship with them to garner those referrals in the future?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have a monthly print educational piece that goes to all the physicians that are in our physician database. But also, for example, February is Heart Month. And so in the month of February, we will also send that same piece to a group of cardiologists. In Kidney Disease Month, we send it to nephrologists. And so we also target that. One of the things that maybe seems so easy, but it's so important, is that particularly if a physician refers a patient to us, we try to turn that professional report. Ours are done through Counselor. We try to turn that professional report around very, very quickly so that that physician has the results of that referral. So maintaining that network has been good. And then on a quarterly basis, I look at all our new patient intake report on Sycle. And if a physician has referred X number of patients to us, then they will likely get a visit from me with a goodie bag and a handwritten thank you note.
Got it.
They may get a letter.
Yeah, it's the personal touch. And I mean, monthly, I don't know a whole bunch of offices that are doing monthly educational things to the physicians as well. So that's another unique tip. It's a candy bag and a personal touch and an opportunity to say thank you. And again, it comes back to that point that you made. You got to take some time to work on your business and not always in it, because it's those extra pieces that not everyone else is doing that creates the relationships, that drives the new patients, that creates those referrals, and ultimately continues to build and maintain the successful business that you've created. Well, we're a few minutes past here. It looked like there was only one other question, and it surrounds your. Oh, do you have a bonus policy for your audiologists that are on staff, or are they straight salary?
Our audiologists are straight salary. Our two part-timers are hourly, but we do not have an incentive program for fittings. I've thought about it. Might be something we incorporate in the future, but we also share patients a lot. And so what I don't want to get into as a practice manager is whose patient was this? And yeah, we want to get the patient in this week, but this audiologist book is full. So do we have to wait another week to get the patient in because that audiologist needs to be the one to fit the patient? So
right.
At this point, we do not pay incentive to our audiologists for fittings. Now, at holiday time every year, they're incented, but it's not the Jelly of the Month Club. So
right. Okay. So I mean, obviously, I think that went without saying that you take care of the folks that work for you, because they've all been there for a very, very long time in this world with the turnover that we see in many other places. So awesome. Again, Ronnie, thank you very much for your insights into the marketing and to giving thought to all of our single practice owners out there who have to think about these things while also being in the business. It's great insights, and hopefully we will have inspired some people to take a step back and schedule some time outside their business to look at all these different avenues and opportunities that you spoke about today.
Well,
any other last things?
Just let me finish by saying that looking down the road, over the counter is coming. My approach to that is the rising tide lifts all ships. and that we're going to have much more awareness in the community about hearing. And so I think that's going to help all of us. Not real sure what we're going to do from a product standpoint, but we're going to lean on our manufacturers to help us there. I guess finally, what I would say is that our experience is that this is a relationship business. It's a relationship with your patients. It's a relationship with referring physicians. It's a relationship with your community. It's even a relationship with the vendors whom we choose to purchase, from whom we choose to purchase our promotional products. And so I think it's important to realize that people do business with people whom they trust and with whom they have a relationship. And so I use two words with our audiologists regularly in our monthly meetings. As I ask the question, how effective are we? How effective are we in answering the telephone, in greeting a patient when they walk in diagnosis, in fitting, in greeting the patient as they leave? How effective are we? And the second one is, which is more my responsibility, is how can we operate at our optimal efficiency? So effectiveness and efficiency in a relationship business, I think if I could say there were 2 or 3 keys to our success, I think that's what they are.
Got it. Well, again, thank you, Ronnie. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here to share these insights with all of our folks out there. We look forward to continuing our relationship, and I wish you more and more success as you guys continue to potentially grow your business even more. And for everyone out there, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope that you guys are getting the value out of this, and we're going to have some more series coming up. So please join us in the future as we look at different business types and talk to some different folks about the way that they've run their business. And yeah, so thank you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.